1069, Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina.
I try to be a better man, but folks just don't understand. Trying to do all I can to deal with this addiction in me. Lord, I want to change. I can't stay the same. But the sins that in my vein, it's trying its best just to kill me.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Very well. Have a good evening, guys. Thank you for coming. Recording stopped.
How do I make this thing, the volume come on? The volume is not on this one.
I can hear you now. All right.
Okay, great.
All right. So, Dr. Kimberly Muktarian. Now, let me pronounce that. Is that how I pronounce it?
It is Muktarian.
Muktarian. Thank you so much for correcting me. And I'd just like to welcome you to the U-Turn Show here on 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio here in Greenville, North Carolina. And this is a show that highlights individuals in the community. And I definitely want to highlight you for all of the work that you do. Now, just to introduce you, you are the founder and president of Save Our Sons, and that's a nonprofit organization. I'm gonna let you tell the people about that, but you're also a lobbyist, an educator, legal advisor. So you wear a lot of different hats, correct?
That's what I've heard. Yes, that's what I've heard.
Okay. So what did you start out as? What did you start out doing?
Well, I just started out as a human, and and sorry about that, but I started out as a human in my community,
Mm-hmm.
and my family is very strongly built with women, but the men were always getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And because of it, it caused me to turn my focus towards them because they were entering and leaving jail so often that many times they could never get any grounding, and the women were carrying the family.
Okay.
So I went back to college, and I began my college path with criminal justice, where I received both an associate and a bachelor's in criminal justice and management. And then I moved on to get my master's in public policy because policy was where I found we were getting ensnared. Um, and then finally, I received my doctorate in biblical counseling and theology because I needed a grounded or a higher level of understanding as to what the world was supposed to be doing, not what the textbook said. So I
Okay.
needed to know what was going on, but how we should fix it, not what America dictated.
All right. So when you talk about policy, let's dig into that. What did you learn about policy and how it affects us as a people, but also most importantly, our sons?
Well, what I found about policy is that it's written to protect those who they're interested in protecting. And because African American males were not in that class, they were the least protected. I found that most of the policy gave permission for the killings. They were given permission to stop, arrest, frisk, use racism. All of those things are in the law. They just couldn't say black. And if you can remember back in 1930 and 1960s, uh, there was Richard Nixon and Harry J. Anslinger, who was the FBI for narcotics, who said we can no longer say black. We have to say marijuana. So they associated, they wrote the name, they took the words black out and attached the drug. And so if you said the drug, that also meant black on the cover. So
Mm.
that is why um, you see a lot of the outcomes because they replaced those words in policy.
Yeah, and it's actually funny you bring up that actual quote because I quoted that in my book, Blue Lights in My Review. He said, "We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be black, but by associating blacks with marijuana, drugs, and criminality, then we could overly prosecute them, overly arrest them, and overly incarcerate them, and people wouldn't blink an eye." And that's what we still see today. Every time you turn on the television, first thing you hear is you see the photo of a black man who's done something. So,
Absolutely.
um, and so with that policy, what, because I was just talking when you came in, and I was about to talk about a subject, but what part do we play? And I hate to play devil's advocate, but we have to look at both sides of the coin.
Absolutely.
What part do we play in the continuation and the participation in our own destruction as far as that goes?
Well, I think we play the role of someone who is sick with a mental illness because after you've suffered so much abuse, you actually take on the oppressor's abusive mentality. And so you begin to inflict abuse upon yourself. So you actually become a self-fulfilled prophecy. So if Harry Anslinger says, no, we're going to associate marijuana with you, then your sick mind says, then I must associate myself with that drug. And before you know it, we are becoming what someone has spoken about us. And we create an entire culture around it. We make music about it. We live, breathe, sleep it. And then we act like we can't get off because now it's acceptable. Now that we've adopted it as the primary identity of who we are, as if that's all we are is what someone said. Well, you have entire cultures who don't even know what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. And you mentioned something because I always heard, when I was 13 and 12, oh, black men they're going to be in jail or dead by 21 1/4, or 3/4 of black men are going to be in jail, or 50% don't, that are not going to graduate from high school. And you I admit that I took on that labeling. I started to buy into that. Well, okay, well, if I'm not with it, just let me go ahead and sell drugs. Let me go ahead and use drugs. Let me go ahead and, get in trouble because that's what's expected of me. So you being an educator, where does the educational system falter at? In this whole system, and a lot of people don't like to use the word racism or white supremacy, but you don't have a problem using that terminology, do you?
No, not at all. I think that's the foundation of America is white supremacy, um, and the ruling power of white supremacy. Um, I don't see anything wrong with saying white supremacy. And believe it or not, if you think that you're supreme, then why not say white supremacy? The institution was established in white supremacy. The country was founded in white supremacy. The Constitution was founded in white supremacy. And the police department was established in white supremacy. Every form of America is established in white supremacy. Now, once you start dealing with the truth of that, then you come against white supremacy. You don't come against homelessness. You don't come against uh, affordable housing. You don't use words like affordable housing. You talk about the same people in the 1960s who gentrified, redlined, and every other form that they did. You call that white supremacy in 1960. You should call it white supremacy in 2022. You don't let them give you terminologies like affordable housing. We've been here 400 years. Of course, we should be able to afford a house.
Yeah.
If we can't, then who? Somebody should be indicted, and it shouldn't be us.
That's a problem, right? That's a problem with it. So how do you combat that? How do you once again break the mentality on both sides? Because like you said, like and I was about to reference a fight that happened in my hometown of Goldsboro, North Carolina, where some 30 or 40-year-old women were on Facebook, and they were talking about each other. Then they met up to fight. And I mean, at least 100 people, grown people, 20, 30, 40, are out there filming and watching these grown women fight. Now, they say black people don't never come together, but that was a prime example of we come together for negativity. So
Absolutely. And
how do you
why did we get that mentality from? When were we allowed? See, you got to remember too. When were we allowed to come together to be positive? We were at Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were at Wilmington before the riots. We did congregate powerfully and with purpose. But remember, each time we came, we were burned out. Each time we came, we were stopped and pushed to the side. When we went to come together to march to go voting, we were met with dogs. Many of our people were lynched. So we have had positivity, but over time, what happens when you kill the leaders of the goodness of the movement? Then what is it that replaces it? When you kill a Martin Luther King, when you kill a Malcolm X, when you kill a Huey Newton who teaches you how to open carry responsibly,
Mm-hmm.
when you replace them, then you get the subservience of the community.
Mm-hmm.
The big homie, come on, the big homies are now the new leadership. And they make a whole, the same FBI that killed Martin Luther King is the same one that's doing the RICO laws for the big homies.
Yes.
They don't care if you good or bad. And when we start learning who our enemies are, we're not bad people. We're just manipulated people. We're just killed people. We're just defrauded people. Now, once we learn how to use that language and stop talking about a gang member, everybody know gangs don't exist. Gangs are miserable. They kill each other and can't remember each other's real name. When they go to prison, no one knows anybody's real name. I know because I've represented them. Somebody's on life right now, doing life, and when you say, who did you kill? Well, I heard his name was little Juju on from the block. Well, you about to do a life sentence for a little Juju. I'm at least need you to know the person's name. These are not gangsters. These are people who are afraid for their own lives to live. They don't even know what it is to live. And we are not, by law, allowed to help them live. You remember, our communities are not allowed to provide each other service. We work for the government. And that is all they want, is us to be totally reliant upon them. Anytime that we begin to rely on each other, we get called terrorists. Black Lives Matter group is a terrorist. Martin Luther King was a communist. See, once we start empowering each other, then we get the isms at the end of our stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or black identity extremists.
Yeah, right. And so soon as we start helping each other, and if we're not doing it nicely in a church and quietly and serene, singing hymnals, then we are extremists to help our own people. And so in order for us to survive, we must rely upon them for survival.
Yeah. So now you mentioned the church, and there was something, and because you said you had a doctorate in theology, right? Is that biblical theology?
Yes, pardon me. I'm trying to make sure my computer stays juiced.
Okay, all right. I give you some time to get that right. Not a problem.
Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned the other
I have
day.
a doctorate in theology.
Yeah. So you mentioned the other day on your broadcast that said, yeah, we could. In the 60s, we tried to march this thing away that we still face, and then you said we tried to pray it away. So, where do you think that our interpretation or our practicing of the Bible has helped us stay under the thumb of oppression?
Well, I think we did a good job of camouflaging who Pharaoh is. In the earlier texts, Pharaoh was allowed to drown. When Pharaoh came after Moses and the children of Israel, he drowned in the Red Sea. We refuse to let our oppressor drown.
Whoa.
We still trying to help him up. We still trying to work with him. We're still trying to train him, train him to get his knee off our neck. We still trying to teach him how not to noose us or let us live where he lived and let us sit down where he sat down. We're still trying to help reform hate. You can't. Hate has to be eradicated. And it's not up to you. It's up to them. Hate is something you got to want to let go.
Yeah, it's almost something I heard. I think his name was Judge Joe Brown. He said, resistance is not just sitting down and getting beat over the head by somebody and hoping they feel guilty, or keep letting somebody beat you and hope they have a conscience. It's been proven in many instances where people don't have a conscience when they are in that mindset. And I think a lot of people have bought into that. That like I said on your broadcast the other day, Jesus wasn't a punk. That Jesus I read about wasn't.
Absolutely. And when he was offended, with those who proclaim the name of God, irrespectable of the truth, he flipped over their tables. He says you're making money off of the people, and you're not supposed to. And he made it very clear as to what his house was supposed to be doing. So he had no problem with dealing with the ailments of society. Matter of fact, that's what he came for, is to be truthful, and that's what killed him.
Hold that thought. We're gonna come right back there. We got to take a quick station break, but we're gonna be right back here with the lovely Dr. Kimberly Muktarian here on 106.9 FM.
Lord, I hope this ain't too late for me to die up in these streets. Oh Lord, can you help me?
Okay, so I guess we are not gonna have a break. Doctor, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. So you said they killed Jesus. Why? Because what? Because of what?
Well, first of all, he spoke the truth unapologetically. And you can expect that if you do. They killed Malcolm, they killed Martin, they killed all of those who had a sound truth. That tells you whether or not those today behind the pulpit, if they're preaching truth or are they reading a book. See, it's one thing, speaking the truth will get you killed. Reading a book can put you to sleep. And I'm not talking about just reading a book, of course, because you know how to read. I'm talking about reading a book that doesn't agitate your oppressor. See, when Jesus came, he could only do about 3 years before his message offended everybody around him. Now, if your ministry is 30 years strong, you might want to ask, are you offending the pharaohs of your society?
Wow.
Because eventually the word of truth is going to convict or agitate. And that is the difference between people who are called and people who just went.
Oh my God, that's deep right there. People who are called and people who are went, because actually, and you're right, because actually they said at the time of Martin Luther King's death, he was actually the most hated, or one of the most hated men in America.
Absolutely.
But now they
Yes.
want to canonize him and memorialize him after they killed the message.
Absolutely. Well, he's no longer a threat. I would canonize him too if he was my enemy. He is no longer a threat. And I would celebrate him too if he came up against my. It's like, I'm so glad you're gone. So again, we have to ask our questions. Is this true leadership? Because I don't need 52 weeks out of the year for you to read something. If we really wanted to do Christianity, you would have to go back and look and see where the apostles and the original disciples eventually couldn't even be out in public without the threat of being killed. So that tells you, is what you're doing effective?
If you're not in any danger.
If you're not in any danger, because this gospel that we know to be preached is going to divide. It's going to separate. It said that it would. It would separate parents from their children. It will draw a very strong line down the middle. And if you can come to your church every Sunday at the same time, and they can find you there, sitting there on your throne, like they do, then 9 times out of 10, you are in bed with Caesar.
In bed with Caesar. I like that. So yeah, so
Yes.
and you do see a lot of prominent, leaders, we call them, leaders, and they kind of quell the revolution sometimes. I think, when we see those, especially in the past couple of years, when you saw, the uprisings around the nation, they always send, somebody to calm us down. Everything is going to be all right. This is not the way we do it. When they go low, we go high. know, and we always have this thing, about, we think we get extra moral points. We always got to take the moral road or the high road. They're always, praising. Yes, he took that disrespect so gracefully. Like
Right.
that's a good thing. When are you going to start standing up for yourself?
Well, the sad part about it is that we actually live a double standard. And even though Black people are still trying to perform humility before whites, it is even more hypocritical when we watch whites go and slaughter people across the seas without due process, without knowing a person's name, without bringing them to court. But you'll bomb an entire hospital, and Blacks don't have anything to say. Why? Because whites said it was okay to do. So even though we take the low, let's take the low road, are we requiring our oppressor that when he goes across seas to take that same low road? No, we herald them. We say, look, we're America and we're supposed to go over there and bomb. All of a sudden, that Jesus that we were talking about now believes in bombing Iraq.
Oh wow, yeah. And I always, kept my antennas up every time they go to, whether it's Syria, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, wherever they go, and say, okay, well, this person is bad. I have to look. Okay, why is he bad? Why? What did he stand up to you against, or what is he
Right.
not doing that you want him to do? And then we get this media propaganda, which constantly bombards us. Oh well, they have, as they said with Iraq, they have mass weapons of mass destruction every day, and everybody was like, yes, go get them, go get them, and then turns out that was just a catalyst to get the people on board with their, once again, they're slaughtering innocent women and children, which they never show that on the news. They show, okay, well, we got this bad guy.
Right.
And so and that goes to the point that you said earlier too, about holding up the table. There's a lot of us that hold up the table and are okay with the way things are until it hits home.
Yes, absolutely. And we forget so quickly the abuses that we've suffered over here. You know, we're quick to forgive. Now, I don't think that we're forgiving them. I think that we have no choice but to move on because we don't have anything to fight back with. So, if you don't have the same guns or the same ammunition, then, nonviolence and forgiveness can be a very useful tool. When it comes to engaging in battle. Uh, when you don't have any tools to fight with, you just don't fight at all.
Okay.
You just submit, and then you call that humility.
So do you think we are prisoners of war? And speaking of, I mean, us, when I say we, I say Black people. Do you think we are prisoners of war in this society?
So I don't know if you read my letter, but it sounds like you already did.
No, I didn't.
So 2 days ago, what should have hit the state of North Carolina is a letter to the Attorney Generals of the United States of this America, as well as Mitch Colvin, who is the mayor of Fayetteville, in reference to the house, the Slave Market House. And the Slave Market House is in the center of Fayetteville. It was a place that was used to trade and sell by Black as product. However, I had to remind them because they, of course, wanted to say, should we repurpose the building? I said, no, you can't repurpose the building because this is a war trade center, a war where they wage war on Blacks. We were not enslaved, we were prisoners of war. Before we came to America, our people did not sit on the sands, edge of the sands of the beaches, waiting for them to come pick us up.
Mm-hmm.
We fought them. We resisted. We used our tools and our weapons. So we are miscategorized. We are prisoners of war who have been enslaved and made to build their country. So anybody in this country that goes to prison and they are descendants of Africans are considered to be prisoners of war.
Yeah.
The only people who actually want to be prisoners of war are those who used to own the land, and those are Hispanics, and now who we call natives. Mm-hmm. They cross back over their own imaginary border.
Yeah.
They crawl back under a border that they once saw no borders and asked to come back home.
We got to take one more station break, Doctor. Hold on.
That's 106.9
FM.
Partial funding for this program is brought to you by The Breakfast Bar, Comfort Food, 605 Albemarle Avenue, Greenville, 252-565-8310. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Closed on Monday. Dine in or take out. No delivery. 252-565-8310. Chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits. The Breakfast Bar is a Southern breakfast and brunch restaurant located at 605 Albemarle Avenue, Greenville, 252-565-8310. Comfort Food. The Breakfast Bar is not just a restaurant. It's a place where family and friends can have a wonderful time while enjoying a multitude of delicious Southern-inspired breakfast and brunch dishes. It's breakfast and brunch for the soul. Comfort Food. Thank you, The Breakfast Bar, for your support.
And we are back here on Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, the U-Turn Show. I am your host, Richard Taylor, with today's special guest, Dr. Kimberly Muktarian, excuse me.
There you go.
Now, back to the slave house, because
Yes.
So what would you want to be done to that slave house? Would you want to tear it down?
Well, what I do know is white supremacy will never let it be torn down. And that's fine. Leave the monument there. However, what I do believe is that African Americans should be exempt from taking care of the building, the maintenance or the management of such an edifice. Why? Because it is a reminder of a brother, quote unquote, a brother's dominance over another brother. Mm. Why would you expect us to pay in taxes for the management of such a building? That are we now financing our own abuse? That was a place of abuse for us. So I'm asking the federal government and others such as yourself to ask for exemption from places that require us to uphold the remnants of slavery. You leave it there, but you pay for it. Now, the reason why I say this is because would we expect the Jews to pay for the concentration camps, to continue to pay for the management and the maintenance of an unutilized building that once killed all their people?
Yeah. And it's funny that you bring this up. I'm just going to read a couple of comments real quick. Anthony Rhodes said, awesome. My father, Roger Taylor, says white supremacy is a sin before God and must be condemned. My sister, Camille Taylor, says good word. T. Wooten says keep it up, bro. Camille Taylor also says going high doesn't mean we don't take action. It means we take action differently.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for those comments. But just because it's funny, I'm actually working on a project with a graduate of UNC, Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And a while ago, they had a controversy over a Confederate statue called Silent Sam. Mm-hmm. And the students and the administration went back, and the students finally actually tore the statue down of a Confederate soldier. Well, however, during that controversy, the student I'm working with dug deeper, and he realized that 30 buildings on the campus of UNC are named in honor of white supremacists,
Mhm.
slaveholders, KKK members, people who actively participated in the 1898 Wilmington massacre. You know, one guy actually shot the machine gun that killed 25 black people at an intersection. And, you know, doing the research for this guy, man, you'll be surprised at some of the views that these people have that the university honored. But that goes to show you, as you said earlier, that our institutions, which, you know, the UNC as an institution, were built on white supremacy. So,
Yes. And I believe that and here's the thing, we're waiting for them to remove the names, but we should be proactive in removing ourselves. Like, first of all, we should take our name out of funding those buildings. UNC is a publicly funded building. Yes, they have private donors and alumni who support, but we need to say, even though, again, we have to use the power of the dollar to give us our value back, because they don't give us value. Obviously, black lives don't matter and black lives don't have value. So we have to build up our own value the way we did in the 1960s through boycotts. You know how we got our respect back? We started controlling the dollar and saying, well, where it would land. The problem is we're still paying for stuff that dishonor us. We're still paying for UNC buildings to be up, whether our children are allowed to be in there or not. But I can tell you where they will be. They will be the starting five of UNC Chapel Hill's basketball team. And you look in the background and look at who's in the stands, and it is 99.9% white children. So again,
sort of like a plantation.
It's all a plantation, and we're waiting for them to love us enough to remove the statues and instead of us being proactive. That's right, sister. We may not go low, but we go higher, and we start saying we do have value. Take my money out these institutions until you treat us with respect. Either his name stay or I go. My money is leaving.
Okay. And so we got to talk about the economics, economics, because and this is my thing, it's what we spend on our money on, not institutionally or publicly, but our personal money. Like I always tell people, okay, well, people walk around with Michael Kors or Gucci or Fendi and I was like, do you even know what he stands for? Do you even know what BMW means? Do you even know what they are funding? Now, of course, they're nice things, and some people equate that with success. Some people won't look at you if you don't have Nike or Jordan's on. But Phil Knight doesn't need any more of our money, but yet we still pour our resources and order online and wait outside of stores to give these people $200 and $300 for things that cost $5 to make, but also they have no real value, to. So what do you think about our spending power? They say black people are, have one of the largest spending powers of some nations, black people in America. So how does that affect our ability once again to get out from under here? Because we're just giving them our hard-earned labor, which is basically slavery, because we work all week for these jobs, and then at the end of the week we take our hard-earned money and give it away for things that are made by the same people who are oppressing us.
Yes, and not only that, we ask for their branding. So we're back at slavery when we say, "Could you please take your value and brand me?" So we used to be branded with a hot iron.
Ooh.
Now we're asking for them to purposely brand us with their name for their value, saying, "Master, could you own me because I don't have my own value?
Can you validate me if I have this
Absolutely.
whoever purse or these whoever shoes? I'm not validated."
Absolutely. And so I may not know how to read, but if I have your value, nobody will care.
Yeah.
I may live in public housing. My rent may be lower than the shoes, but as long as I got on these shoes, won't nobody know how broken and poor I am. So again, if we don't talk, if we do not bring these things to the forefront, if we don't bring these things to the forefront, if we don't bring these things to the forefront our um of our existence. And see, it's not enough people who are crying loud and spare not. That's the gospel. People
Mhm.
think the gospel is Jesus Christ and talking about crucifixion. But what happens when we tell you to crucify your flesh from America's lust?
Mm.
Crucify your flesh. Everybody's still talking about, come on, you talking about poverty. Won't you fast some of America's lies? And
Mm.
when we start talking about that, and then come against the preachers who talking about prosperity, but prosperity is nothing but trying to keep up with America's lies.
Mhm.
And then they manipulate you soon as you put your hands to it. See, now you are in contact, and that is your value system. Your value system is now saying, put it on here.
Yeah.
The value system is all distorted because African American pastors are now being bought by America's witchcraft.
Wow. Wow. And the Bible actually talks about that too. So who has bewitched you? Um,
Come
so
on.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you
we
start telling your people that you are blessed when you have a house and a car, but the census every 10 years already allocate money for you to have a house.
I didn't actually, that's something I didn't know.
Oh, come on. So the census takes a head count, just like the prison take a head count, just like the schools take a head count. They get paid based off head count. So whether you show up to school the next day or not, they already allocated money for you. You can be as absent as you would like to be. But guess what? There's money allocated for your education. Do you not think they don't do the same thing for housing? They
Mm.
have money. They just ration it out. Why? Because housing is a form of wealth. And they don't want you to have wealth. They would rather you have a place to stay, but not a place of wealth. Now, they won't give you the house, but they will give you a hotel if you get homeless. They will give you a shelter.
Uh-huh.
So I brought in my friend. Can you stop the echo?
Oh yeah, you got. I guess you got
You're gonna have to mute
your volume
Raquel.
down.
Huh?
You have to mute Raquel.
Not mute. I guess I think turn her computer's volumes down. If I'm not mistaken.
I have headphones. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kimberly. Say something, Racquel. I can hear you a little bit.
Okay, I'm here.
I can hear you. How you doing?
Hey, brother.
It's good to see you. Hold on, let me see if I can get both of y'all up here.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah. So now it's been a while since I seen you. It's
I
been.
know.
I met you, I think, through my mother. Right?
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was doing your books or something like that.
She's actually a contributor. She used to be on our board,
Okay.
and she still is supporting us. She actually does.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
Look, she's
you.
right here on the counter. Hi.
Hey, Aletta.
Yes.
Yes, we still at it, girl.
Camilla Taylor says, I truly appreciate the ultimate driving machine. And also Felicia Mitchell says, hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining. And yeah, like I was telling her, like you guys conversation the other day, just had me so just so ready to go, because you said just the fact, somebody asked me this question though the other day, so I'm gonna pose it to y'all. We were talking about the same issues. It was me, an older guy, and his son. Now the two of them had different views, because the older gentleman, he was talking about everything that you guys were talking about, and the younger son was more of, well, it's all up to us. So the younger son posed me this question: how important it is to focus on us, or to focus on what they are doing to us. So let me
I
get
think we have that conversation every day. I'm more on us and she's on. So I'm like, no, we need to get this. We need to do this and take responsibility, take accountability. We need to do it. And she's like, but you better go check master handprint. He all over it and he's still there. So we have that. We live out that dichotomy every single day.
Yeah, but in my opinion, you can't do one without the other because they're both related. Just like Dr. Was saying earlier, like, why do we act this way? Where do we get this type of behavior from? We
Absolutely.
have taken this. It's almost like I got to go back to the children of Israel. When it was time for them to come out, things got rocky because they had been in bondage for so long, and then some of them went back. Was like, well, no, let's just go back. We had all the things that we needed. We had all the food, but you were in bondage. So I think some people still may have had that have that mindset today. Whereas, well, I know things not right, but hey,
Well, let me say this, Racquel, can you hit yours? When you mentioned the POW, I think that's the most powerfulest tool that I use mentally is to remind myself that we're in war, and have been in war. And war comes with PTSD. So when you start talking about the conditions of the Black mind, many of us are suffering from post-traumatic slave disorder, most post-traumatic um, disorders that come from mental oppression. And I think we've been so accustomed to adopting practices that say we can take a licking and keep on ticking. Come on now, we give ourselves these banners for abuse.
Wow.
Remember, our young people don't even feel like they're validated in prison unless they've been beat and shot. And so we've adopted, and that's just not our youth. Our Black people glory in the fact that we got bit by dogs just to be accepted in America. Yes, we were bit by dogs and water hoses. And come on, we are subjected to somebody's mental illness. That is not something to glory about. For somebody to tell us now we are American, we're part of the American fabric and tapestry of this life. No, we are POWs and we have been for 400 years. And that's why we're still trying to train you on how to treat us because we're still captured as POWs. You can't train hate away. That's why we're not successful. You can't march hate away. You have to eradicate it. Somebody has to be accountable. That's why they won't pay because they can't pay reparations if you already forgave them for the atrocity. Now everybody else Black, if you commit a crime, is going to jail and they're gonna pay. They're the only culture that will beat you to death and get training.
Or pay leave.
Or pay leave. Right. That's the only thing they get. That's the only thing they're paying out. And they get their self-qualified immunity to do it.
Yeah, or they'll get reassigned, as they say. We were going to reassign you to another district, and you go and do the same thing there. So, yeah.
And again, you look at us as well when you look and you say, when Black people or the middle class get in trouble financially, we don't do an acquisition. We're not allowed to change our name and turn into somebody else. We have to pay. These bankers, all of this stuff that America has allowed, gives them a way of escape from any form of responsibility. But then we come back to us and say, well, you're responsible and you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and, it's all your fault and you need to do better. But when they do millions of dollars in damages, they're never required to pay.
So there's a double standard then.
Absolutely.
Which I think we always knew that. We knew that. We've lived that. But I think that while we still hold them accountable, we have to see ourselves in the system and see where we can come out. I remember that I was running for city council and the senator was saying, we want your blood, sweat, and tears. And I was thinking, like, I just came through these Democratic parties and I was walking into these Democratic parties and giving these speeches, and they were looking at me like, who are you? We hate you. We always supposed to be here. And I asked them, I said, why would you want me to give you my blood, sweat, and tears
and pledge my allegiance to a party that don't even want me here. He said, well, Racquel, you got to choose one of the lesser evils. And right then and there, I heard the Father say, daughter, what would I have you choose? I said, you will have me choose no evil. And he said, come from out of her.
Wow.
Come from out of her. And that's when I decided and I knew, whoa, how much here I am trying to build up the banner of the civil rights movement because they've been trying to get us to stop to not vote. And we fighting to vote. And God says, come from out of her. And that's when I started to really peel back how much of us are in this system. We don't even see it. So in order for the system to fall, we got to see ourselves and we got to come out of her.
Got to come out.
Denounce the banking, denounce the housing, denounce the education, denounce every single thing because it's bondage and it's a lie and watch it fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it seems, go ahead, doctor, go ahead. I know you ready.
No. Listen, that's right on point. Well, kudos to both of us, and thank you, Taylor, for bringing us on because we believe that it is time for us to do the Exodus, the ultimate Exodus. We can't keep asking for Pharaoh to be our friend. We cannot have another discussion with Pharaoh. I mean, come on, we're still talking about voting rights in 2022. We can't explain that stuff anymore. Keep trying to explain away that to our children. This is an abomination. And this is against humanity. America goes about trying to prosecute everybody else for war crimes against humanity. But when are they going to be held accountable on war crimes against humanity? It is time for us to call it what it is. This is a war. And when you start looking at it as a war, you come back at your enemy and you start moving out. You move the troops out because we mentally are not supposed to be in bondage. We can no longer dance with sociopaths.
But let me say something to you real quick.
Hold on, just 1 second. We're going to continue this, but I do want to say to my radio audience, thank you guys for listening once again. We're going to be back next week. Special thanks to our special guest, Dr. Muktarian and Racquel Williams. We're going to see you guys next week. Make sure you turn in, but we're going to continue this. Hold on.
Lord, I need you to smile on me. Lord, I'm bleeding. Tell me where you want me to go.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say what you were saying, Racquel.
I forgot. Dang on it. Oh, Kimberly, what was you saying? Because it was something about what you were saying. You was talking about
it was about coming out, and something I always tell people because a lot of people still stress voting. A lot of people are really how you don't vote. You don't vote. Like, what are we voting for? Like, what are we getting in exchange for our votes? If we vote people in blindly because they are Democrats or whatever, or they are the lesser of two evil, but we're still getting the evil of the evil. Like, if I have two candidates for a babysitter and one of them has raped 4 girls and one of them has raped 2 girls, I think I'm going to babysit my own child if those are the candidates. So I agree.
Right. It was something that Kim was saying, and I was like, "Ooh!" It just hit me. But then the music and everything got me. It just kind of pooped away. But it's interesting because, God told her, and gave her the mantle of let my people go, and God gave me and woke me up and said, set my people free. So the fact that those two people were having that same conversation, I'm here to set them free, which means they don't even know that they're free, and Kim is going to tell Pharaoh and them, let my people go. And so you got to have safe passage on the way, in Exodus. And I just think that is important. You got to have both. So there is no one without the other. This is what I was going to say. Thank you, Lord. If we knew how evil this system really was, we wouldn't want nothing to do with it. And I'm not going to lie. I've been one to say, listen, I'm going to do righteous. I'm going to do God. I'm going to do God. Lord, so Lord, tell me what to do. Navigate me. But I cannot tell you, until we started this wealth fair tour, we've been in here, foyering and getting data and just really looking at how this system is all connected, one system after another. You see the writing is on the wall so clear. It broke my heart. I was in here the other day. We was just sitting here. We was writing stuff on. We got sticky notes all on the walls. And when I saw this enemy, it broke my heart that someone could hate me so much.
Mhm.
And I said, Father, and there was nothing in that moment that I wanted to compromise. I didn't want to have a partnership. There was nothing we could talk about because I saw it face to face that it hates me and it hates the God that I represent. And if I don't do nothing, I will die on this battlefield for righteousness.
Absolutely.
Righteousness. Because there's nothing else. There's nothing else that matters. And I didn't realize how evil this thing was because they've done a very good job in hiding it in tons and tons of paperwork, in black and white, in 300-400 page documents that no one will ever read. And it's wicked, and I want nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with it.
So what were you doing? You said the welfare program where you started finding out the information?
So Kimberly and I both are on tour. So we are on a tour. Let my people go, set my people free. It's called the Wealth Fair Tour. We're saying we don't want welfare. We want wealth.
Wealth. Okay.
Welfare. Yes, we want a fair distribution of America's wealth. How you do this one, we want this one too. And so just by being able to educate families, bring policymakers together, programs to say we could do better. Let's just make sure we make clear, here's your opportunity to do better. And then we're just gonna let God deal with the rest. Because like Kim said, warning comes before judgment. So we're gonna give you an opportunity to do right. And then God is gonna do the rest. And then we actually spelling it FAIR.
Yes.
Fair, to make it fair. Well,
okay.
Yeah, to make wealth fair. And so it's the welfare movement. And we're actually touring 300 public housing communities in the wealthiest cities. So you got the poorest communities in some of the wealthiest cities to really see the greatest disparities. And we're going to unveil it to you in black and white to let you know we don't have an affordable housing issue. We don't have a crime issue like Ken was talking about, gun issue. No, this issue is something else. And so we just come because we're really blessed and anointed to deliver the message in a certain way. I talk to families. I talk to program staff. Kimberly talks to families too, but she talks to policymakers. So her job is to talk to the pharaohs, to the governors, to states, to heads of states, to get that accountability. My job is to move these moms out. So when we start moving out, the policymakers start opening the doors so that we can actually leave.
She moves the women, I move the men from the prisons. So our duo is to come against both prison camps. We call the prison camps of America the projects and the prisons. And so those are the two prison camps of America, and they're ran by capitalism. So we are here to bring those two towers or those two high places, the Bible calls them. We go to the high places and tear those kingdoms down.
Amen. That's the umbilical cord to this whole system. This whole system. If you could cut that umbilical cord from those two systems, America will fall because it feeds the entire system.
Right. Housing, public housing, and public prisons and private prisons. Those are the two. So let my people go goes into the prisons. We look at all of the investors and who benefits from it, even from keeping our men suppressed and oppressed. We draw on the public policy that pulls them out as Racquel goes in, equally so, and get our women and those that are in public housing for generations who are afraid to come out from behind those walls and live life. And they keep us separated. They keep our families separated. It is our job. That is where Jesus would be. He would be at the prisons and he will be at the low places. If any of our leaders are behind the wall preaching about what Jesus did and not doing what Jesus do, then they too are pimps. And we're ready to tell them that. That is what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going into the places where nobody else will go, and that's once again that's what Jesus did. And there's too many people, like you said, that sit up and talk about doing things or sit out and point out the issues, but are not ready to deal with the issues. So I commend you both because I think
Thank you.
Racquel, I've known once again I've known. I think you've been doing this for a while. I think it was another name. What was it? Welfare.
It was the 1 million moms of welfare. It was Can I Live? Can I Live is still, yeah, we still do Can I Live? Can I Live is the organization and we
Can I
still do the
Live?
word. Yep. I remember.
So
I mean, it's been a while.
And so how did you guys connect? I have to ask that because I met you through your daughter when I was out selling books. So how did you guys connect?
It was divine. That's all I can say. I can say God Himself brought us together. She is more than a sister. We call each other the witness, the two witnesses, because we're two of
Revelation.
Yes, absolutely. It's so crazy. We actually met at a house of we often call our places where we connect the war room. So if you came to Racquel's house, you would see paper and strategies all over the walls. Instead of pictures and posters, you will see war and strategy. But we met under the leadership of a man named Apostle Bobby McAllister, who was former military.
Okay.
And he had wrote several books and really believed in justice for all. And we were summoned by heaven to be there at the same time. And she was running for office. Um, I had just learned how to be a campaign runner. We merged and we've been on the ground ever since. And what we did is we decided, based on what God had given us, is that we would run his campaign. And these two are his campaign. Let my people go, to the heads of state, Pharaoh, and to the children of Israel, the children who are to be set free. And so, with those two combined, we believe that we can take the exodus that we need to bring America and this nation, along with this world, to the place where it needs to be.
Amen.
So how can people help you in this?
That's Racquel's job, Rock.
That's my question. I say that to her every day. She know I get on her. But so the welfare tour, you could go to thewealthfaretour.com. There's a support tab. You can support our initiative. We have a 37-foot RV. We are traveling city to city. We're going, actually next week, we're going to Texas. We'll be in San Antonio. Then we are going to be in Baton Rouge in June, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're going to be in Abilene in July. We got a couple of, housing authorities. So, we're partnering with housing authorities to bring this message because housing authorities actually have what they call a captive audience. Their moms, mostly African American, they touch all the systems. So instead of me going to, social services, I'm just going to go to the housing authorities who have both public housing and Section 8, and they're going to touch all the systems. Plus, Can I Live is a national public housing tenants association. We were tired of people coming in, all of these academics parachuting their programs, getting paid to write up a program to come over here and tell us what we need to be doing right or wrong. When we were like, this ain't even it. We smart, we intelligent, we have intellect, passion, we know God, we can hear his voice. I think we can solve our own problems. And then we just started to be the problem. We just wanted to be the change we desired to see ourselves. We didn't want anybody telling us that, especially Caucasian folks that just was like into the shenanigans.
And for the money or the feel good. Okay, I helped somebody, or I donated here, or I donated time, or my organization does this. I understand. I definitely understand. So
where are you
covering their white
guilt? I'm sorry.
Yeah, white guilt.
What'd you say? White guilt. Oh, yeah, Kim is terrible. Kim gonna get them bad. I feel sometimes I'm being here like, please don't say that, girl. I be praying pray for us.
But yeah, you gotta, like I said, you gotta say things that people aren't willing to say, but also you gotta offend people. Like people are offended by the truth. People would rather hear a lie than believe the truth. Because
She ain't got no mercy. She ain't
you
got no
know,
mercy.
but that's once again, that's what people need to hear is the unapologetic truth.
Well, you want to know something, Richard? What's funny? When
Uh-huh.
it comes to her people, like when it comes to heads of states, you should see us in the room. I'm always trying to give them heads of states a back door. Like, well, they don't know for sure. And then she gets on me. And then when it comes to the people, the Israelites, I'll be giving them the hammer. She was like, but they don't know. They don't know. And I'm like,
Okay. So
but
it's a
you know,
balance.
it's a balance. And
Yeah.
we just crack up because she is ruthless when it comes to like she is no holds bar. And I'd be scared for them. I'm scared for white folks that is holding up this system right now. And I'm scared for the black folks too. I'm scared for y'all. I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie, I am scared. And so I don't even know because y'all don't even know the revelation. She coming with a whole different revelation. She coming with a whole different paradigm on how to even live. Stuff that, and sometimes I just listen. I'll be like, I'm gonna shut up.
See that do y'all come against any opposition? What you guys trying to do, whether
Of
it's from
course,
the
of course,
Israelites or the Pharaohs.
of course. I know I know for sure. See, one of the things we have different graces. So Kimberly, she's very graceful. So she won't even deal. She's just not gonna deal. So she won't even get herself tangled up in nobody. She just ain't gonna get her hands in it. Where I'm the walkout. So I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see if it burns. I'm gonna see if it hurts, and it's gonna hurt and burn. And these people gonna get ample opportunity to come after me. But God always provides. Like I know that we have gotten spit out of so many systems. We got legitimate gripes for so many systems. Well, particularly a few, particularly HUD. Just put that out there. HUD,
I
the Housing and
was
Urban
gonna
Development.
ask you, but you already did
Oh
it.
no! We dropping names. I'm gonna promise you, the whole season for holding back names, that
Yes.
season is over. That whole thing is over. So y'all better pray that I don't start dropping names tonight, because I want to go to
And yeah,
sleep.
and we owe America to drop names. Um, One of the things that let my people go is pushing for an anti-lynching bill throughout the states and not just at the federal level. And if you think about how many times African Americans were lynched and killed, and you saw the perpetrator standing posing in pictures, and we were
Hmm.
not allowed to even allege that they were the killers. And now today, we are trained. I said, we are trained to just say the system did it. Oh, we got a broken system. No, you have people that work that system. There are people that make up those strategies. There are
Yes.
those who won't answer their phone. There are people who create pathways for you not to be afforded the accessibility of opportunity. So we are calling names.
And there are people who will lie on you on purpose, get whole grants snatched away or try to snatch them away. There are people who will deliberately cause you pain and lie and just don't give you no form of grievance. I mean, they do this. This is what these systems do. They just will cancel a grant, don't give you no reason why, no nothing, no matter how many appeals, no nothing. So, and then there are sometimes there and some most of the times the crazy part that I hate is they look like us. They get the white folks most of the time get the, and I'm not talking about all white folks, because the Quakers did help us get free with Harry at some point in time, and there's some Quakers out there right now that's trying to help us get free. But there's most of the time the white folks that be behind and keep this stuff going, they'll put the black person right in front and just be the one to put this knife right in your back. And I'm like, how do you even go to bed at night? How do you wake up in the morning? So
Well,
they
that's the
do dirt. They
divide and
doing
conquer
dirt.
technique, though.
What you said?
I said that's that divide and conquer technique where they put gatekeepers in place and they whether they fund
Gatekeepers,
them, whether they
yes.
give them positions,
Yes,
whether
they
they
do.
them.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And if anybody ever told you anything that was not true, I have been offered positions, jobs. I have been offered a couple of different things on 2 to 3 occasions to ask me what did I want. I could get anything I want for me to just cut it out. And I was like, they was like, what you want? I was like, you want a house, you want a job, you want a promotion, you want a board seat. What do you want? I was like, I don't want none of that. Well, what do you want? You got to want something. Everybody wants something. I said, how about leave my community alone from people like you, and so that y'all eat the pie and then put the pan of crumbs in our community and make us fight over the crumbs. She was like, who wants that? I said, well, you just asked me what I wanted. I said, and stop coming in here and start trying. She came after me about 2-3 times. And I was like, look at y'all. This is how people get bought out right here. I was like, let me know what's happening. I thought it was a camera somewhere in the room. I was like, this happening. This is the buyout moment. And I was like, look at y'all. And she was one person. She said, Racquel, she said, if you can find where the systems touch, she said, you can make a difference. I said, they touch? She said, yes, they touch. She said, and if you can find where they touch, you can make a difference. She says, I said, well, why can't you just tell me? She says, because I can't. And so this was a white woman, the head of a social services, who knew better. And it's been, 10 years plus. I've been plowing away at where these systems touch. And God coming. He coming forward.
Amen.
10 years.
Let me say this, Racquel said well when she said they will offer you to sell your people out.
Yes.
And the thing about the sellout promotion is that there is no promotion. If you remember that, they offered Judas to sell out Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, but at the end of his term, he committed suicide because he found there was no value higher than God. There was no value than serving God. Amen. So what is it that you could actually gain that, if a man gain the whole world and lose his soul? Amen. And so I think Black people are still in this crucible of trying to obtain a lie. There is no American dream. First of all, it's not American. Because anytime you call this place American, then you're telling your Indian brothers they deserve to be raped, robbed, and stolen from.
Yeah. And see, that's what I say to a lot of people when, discussing this is that's one of the reasons why we do so bad, because this is not who we are. Even in the Bible, or even in the ancient African societies, like we were more of a communal people.
Yes.
If nobody didn't have, then everybody didn't have. Like it's a proverb called Ubuntu. Like they said it was a white man who came to an African village with a barrel full of candy, and he told all of the children to line up at this line, and you guys race, and whoever finishes gets the whole barrel of candy. And so when the guy blew the whistle, all of the African children locked arms, and they walked to the finish line together.
Come on.
And the guy asked them, what are you? And then they explained to him, if, I am because they are, we are. Like, if, we want everybody to have something. But in America, it's not like that. It's a capitalistic society. So it trains us, it teaches us to go after whatever. Step on your brother or sister's neck. Look down upon those people who don't have it. But that's not who we are internally. So we have to, that's why we're shooting and killing and doing all of this PTSD stuff. We're so mentally screwed, for lack of a better word, because that's not who we are, but we're trying to assimilate. It's almost like, okay, they always say Black people are crabs in a barrel, but the crab's natural environment is not a barrel.
Right, it's true. And capitalism tells you in order for you to survive, you better be a crab. You better pull the other one down so you can gain the place. So, for us, we've internalized all the bad stuff, but this is who America is. America survives off of crabs. If you don't get to be rich unless someone else is poor.
Mm-hmm.
If all that wealth was redistributed to everybody, America would fall. If everybody had, then America would cease to exist. Somebody would self-destruct.
What's
So
so interesting too is with that is so many people from other countries they admire us, yet they know they disgusted by us at the same time. They love the fact that there's so much opportunity. It's the land of opportunities. But I think Kim and I was talking about this the other day. I was like, when we wanted to be like them so much, we had to want to be like white folks at some point. We had to. It was something that they had. The fact that whatever they had, they obtained it by a lie. We couldn't even see the lie. We thought it was a truth, and we wanted that whatever they had. So we succumbed to their tactics of getting it. Instead of saying that's a lie, and we don't live like that. Now, of course, that happened generations and generations and generations of being enslaved and not seeing another way. So I get how we got here, but until we start to answer and address the real demonic demons like jealousy, envy, pride, those are things that come in because that's why most of us, and fear that if I work with you, you'll be better than me. If I work with you, you'll overpower me and my stuff won't shine. I can't be. And so then some people don't like working together. They are afraid and intimidated because they have not had their light shine to the degree that you could be around other light. And so we don't even want to address the fact that we can't even see other people win without being upset. If you can't see somebody win and something inside of you kind of like, well, when's my turn? And I ain't front with them. I ain't doing them. I'm gonna do me. You traumatized.
Yeah.
You traumatized.
absolutely.
What the words say, I pray that you be in good health and wealth or something like that. I will miss the
I
scripture.
pray that you will prosper even as your soul prospers.
So
Yes.
when you got true soul prosperity, boo, you want everybody to prosper. You like, listen,
Yeah.
I'm so prosperous. Come
Well,
here, let me show you how to do it. Let me show you how to do it.
It's funny that Brother Taylor had mentioned who we are as natural born citizens of the world. Africa is the hub for the world. When you start talking about the origins of who Mansa Musa, who was so wealthy that he gave all of his possessions away. He was known for giving away the gold. The story reached Europe, and people from all over were coming to see who he was. Who is this man who had amassed such wealth that he just gave it away as if it was nothing? When we learn how to love and give, that's who we are as a
Yes, we are.
people. First of all, God gave us a continent that was the wealthiest, so we didn't have to fight over too much anyway.
Mm-hmm.
When you have all the minerals, when you have all the chemicals, when you have the chemistry of life, you don't have to fight over much.
Yeah.
So
They said Africa has enough resources to supply the whole world.
Wow.
absolutely. And when we recognize who we are and the God that gave it to us, I think we have to go back to the origins, and we'll find that's probably where the hatred is coming from those real realities. And you have to keep that hatred up before you get found out. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and what happens is because you start out in hate, you got to keep the hate going. So now it's very difficult for white supremacists to start repenting without trying to bring other black people along to bear their cross. And that's what you find in plantation politics. They start paying black people to say, hey, don't call me out with them. Why don't you hide me a little bit? And if I'll give you this job so I don't look as bad, or I'll give you a promotion so I don't look. I'm not a racist because I hired 2 black people. You know, we have diversity. They're counting black folks at the job. We have we have a whole class on diversity and equity. And I'm thinking, isn't it sad that now you have a whole board on inclusiveness as if black people just got here yesterday? We've been here for 400
Wait,
years.
what is that? What is if I see one more That they don't create. It's a whole word called ideas. They done made a whole word, and they so proud of it. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's inclusion, diversity, equity, access, and systemic somebody. I don't say they added an S on it. I'm like,
And I always cringe when I still hear like the first black somebody.
Yeah.
We're still having first black
Yes.
somebodies,
come
So
on
it
now, you better
goes
say
to
that
show
thing.
you how far we are behind if we're still, the first black mayor of this town, the first black judge of this city.
But we were the first, or we were the first people, not the first black. We were the first humans that created civilization. But now you're gonna reduce me down to the first black person who made toenails. Like, no, we are in genetically intellectuals. We created philosophy. All of your philosophers from Greek mythology to Greek philosophers got all of their astrology from us, everything, their sciences from us. We don't need your biology. We created it. We were the first people with sanitation. As a school teacher, I had to make our children stop saying the first black. No, we're the first humans.
And that's a question, that's a subject I did want to talk because of the educated. Now, I was considered very smart in school, but it was a certain point in time when I realized, hey, everything they're teaching me is about the greatness of white people. Albert Einstein, George Washington never told a lie, Abraham Lincoln, the Pythagorean theorem, Thomas Edison, there was nothing good about black people in my books except Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks sat down, and we were slaves. So how did you deal with that knowing, or were you this, as they call it, woke when you were teaching? Because
Well, what I do is I teach truth and I teach origin, because in history is also science. Science speaks for itself. And you can't start blackness from America. You have to start humanity from Africa. Even we don't even own the right to Africa. Humanity owns Africa.
okay, okay.
And genetically, what unfolds out of Africa is other cultures and skin types.
Well, female,
So
as they say.
that is correct. So we address genetics, geography, and history, the written language. All of those things are all tied together. You cannot talk about the genetic disposition of humanity without talking about environment and what happens when you evolve and move from a hot natured place where the sun, where you never see snow. Africa don't know what snow is, to bearing the heat until you and the sun become one and you absorb the rays. And if you don't get rays, you get rickets. You get osteoporosis because you lack vitamin D. You have to have the sun. To where you move, you migrate to locations where there's practically no sun at all. So you stop getting dark. You go into caves. Your food source diminishes because it's extremely cold, and you might turn into cannibals, but we won't talk about who they are.
Your nose gets thinner because the air is colder, so you can't have as much air. I've studied all of this. Your hair grows longer because you're colder.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
you start talking about, and the necessities of technology becomes very rare. Where we were making sanitation and making entire cities, there is no need to build a city when you are on ice.
Yeah, the Dark Ages is what they called it, right?
Uh-huh. So and that's why you're always trying to bring these people to the light. Um, there is so much that we have to be proud of as the originals of humanity, not as blacks. Black is a color and a shade. I tell people, children, all the time, you are not black. You are human. The word hue means
You.
tint or shade. You are a shade of something. And Mother Earth, Mother Nature created different shades and hues. I said, if you cut off everybody's arm and put it together, you're not going to call each other black. You're going to say that's a shade, that's a hue. Now, what's going to differ is when they start talking. And a colorblind person don't know what color you are. So again, we have to teach it from a scientific point of view. So because in Africa, we were never called black.
Mm-mm.
Who in Africa called us black? We didn't even know we were nothing else.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we identified by each other's tribe and language.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't become black until we came over here. And now, then we had to, conform to sociopaths. So we have a lot to learn. And I think what we should be doing is teaching it from the real essence of what humanity is. And once we do, we'll actually start asking for rights based off of humanity. Because, yes.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, and that is why whites have been able to divide all over the world, because we are the motherland. Mother means we bear many children. We really aren't envious of them either. We're not envious of any color because we birthed them all.
But what about those of hue or melanin that cease to associate, have distanced themselves, who don't even want to be associated with the origins because they've been so, as I told one classmate, I said, you've been Americanized.
Sounds like a disease.
Get them in that mindset, because people look down. Certain people look down on the original land and the peoples of that land. They want nothing to do. They claim American. They don't know I'm not. I'm American. I'm not. So how do you?
I think.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say. I mean, I'm probably one of those. And here's one of the things I can be real honest with myself, because I know me, and I can tell you right from the gate. You get too African deep on me, I'm gone.
I said you left us for a minute there.
I'm going, because guess what? Listen, I get it, but I just feel like some of us, and I'm not saying that is the case here, but I don't want to talk about this no more. Like, how many times you gonna keep talking about this? Stop. Like, we could talk about it all day. You got so many people that got so much word and so deep out there. Everybody deep. It's so damn deep, we can't move. And I'm like, what can we do today to take our tails out this system today? Can you at least, and here's what I know, it's practical. Can you come out of the Democratic and Republican system? Can you come out the political system? Can you come out of the mortgage system? Let's talk about the practicality. And one of the things I was going to tell Kim, and we have these debates all day. It's something about, I can't tolerate the rhetoric anymore. It's like, yo, we geniuses. I know, I hate this. Oh, we were this, and we were this, and we did this, and we did that, as if we are these saps that lack ingenuity, innovation. We are out there right now changing the whole world, literally today, every day. And it's like, I don't want to talk about, and we have it all day. I was like, I don't want to talk about it no more about what was. And she will never. She was like, we all gonna talk about it, because that's where we always got to go back to the beginning. But I think you have to have a balance, and you have to be able to show people, here's where we came from. Here's the lie we believed. Here's where we walked it out. Here's where the U-turn. This was the the road we should never have gone on. And here's the path that we should be on. And here's why. And here's what victory looks like if we walk out in a whole different way. Then we all have to address the fear that's going to come to you when it's time to walk out of the system. Will you leave your house or mortgage? Probably not. Will you denounce education and homeschool? I'm glad they ain't had that word when I had them 4 kids, because I would say probably not. So I don't know where everybody has to walk out. That's between you and God. I think he'll tell us what needs to be done next.
Yeah,
Well, can I say this? Even still, so like she says, we always, spa on issues, and I don't really practice calling it history. I call it a reality because we are
It's
just
a
as much
reality.
kings and queens then as we are now. We just don't recognize it. So because that language is so far apart, until people refer to it as the past, no, we're still just as rich. We're still endowed with the same intellectual empowerment. This wasn't for us 2,000 years ago in Egypt. This is who we are now. We just haven't come to the realization of it.
So what is that plan? How do we walk out that realization? Like, for example, and Kim know I've always told her, if we see the enemy before us in these places, what are we going to do to get these kids off of this street? Or if it's not that per se, get them off the street. Who do we have to go sue? Who do we have to file a class action lawsuit against? Who do we have to go to get the what do they call that when you like recompense, like somebody
restitution, reparation.
that. Who do we have and hold accountable? Now, no one person can do it. I don't believe one person can do it. I think, but how many cities right now, states right now, communities right now, families, people have had a conversation today that we got to do something about the black crime? Hell, we had to do something about black crime 20 years ago. Right. You gonna tell me we ain't got no intellect to tell you how we gonna come out of this thing together? And let me tell you something. Just like we don't, I'm gonna promise you, if blacks knew how to walk themselves out the system, they would have. If they had the revelation of what the evil looked like, they would leave. If they had the courage, and if God showed them how to walk out, they will walk out. And just how we could be stuck in the system and don't know how to move, I don't think there is any real difference. And I'm not saying for all whites, but I think whites are just as stuck in the damn system that they can't even get out themselves.
Yeah.
And they probably so accustomed to the lie, they're scared to break off from the lie. I mean, it's been so good. And when you start telling them, it's time for you to put away your toys and put away your lies and manipulation, they're saying, over my dead body. That's why you have two parties that are constantly fighting this out every single day.
Same party.
So you still have the same. And we've adopted, Brother Taylor had asked about education. Not only did we take on their education, but we also took on their interpretation of life. So I don't call it gun violence. We have to watch what we adopt in our language. And because in our language is our success and our downfall. So I don't teach gun violence. I don't know a gun that's not violent.
They made them for violent.
But listen, if you get shot, you ask that person, was it violent or non-violent? And they're going to tell you it was violent. What they've learned how to do is associate violence with us. Our shooting is violent.
You better shut your mouth.
Their violence is justified.
You better shut up.
Okay, wait a minute now.
Or so, like they use the term black on black crime. What they're essentially doing is associating black with crime.
Absolutely.
Crime.
It's right.
Crime.
Is that so? When you say, and then when you come into a school building and you shoot an entire school up, they don't say white crime. What they say is mass shooting.
Wow.
They say school shooting. Well, we don't need to know where it happened.
Yes, they do.
They don't associate white people with violence.
True.
They reserve those words for us. Okay, come on. Because if school shootings only happen twice a year on the average, but our shootings happen every single day. Do you not think if we were that violent, they would give us more help? But don't let the schools get shot up. They start passing laws. Cabela's and Dick's Sporting Goods removed their AR-15, AK-15s right off the shelves. Soon Heartland got shot up. So here we are committing this heinous crimes using the same guns that they used at Heartland shooting, but it wasn't enough to move our stuff off. Come on. So when you look at us, we're violent. That's what they call violent. When they shoot, they start talking about, well, did he have a mental illness?
Oh yeah, definitely.
See, we are not given the PTSD benefit of the doubt. They are. So ours is violent, meaning that we should take full responsibility of our actions. When they do something, they automatically are excused. When
Just
Dylan
like
Roof, come on, when Dylan Roof killed those 9 parishioners in South Carolina, they were mad that they had to take him to jail, so they took him to Burger King and got him something to
they
eat.
don't suppose that he's supposed to be all right with that. What's the other guy that just got out? Kyle Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenbaum.
He killed 2 white people, but he
killed 2 and wounded the
But
third.
let me ask you guys this. Okay, we could talk about that. Hell, that's what happens every day. But guess what? I want you to go talk to them law schools that's in school to be lawyers. I want you to go talk to that bar association. I want you to go talk to all these black folks out here that's trying to be lawyers and tell them to come from out of her, because y'all in a whole system that don't even know justice. This system ain't for justice. You know that, but you still in it. So we are. And for people like, and I'm gonna say this, Ben Crumps and them, the outshot, like people who just pray, like when you get shot, I think moms would have rather their son who got shot by Raymond and them on a block. I wish they would thought, why couldn't a white man just shoot my son so I could get this little settlement? You know what I'm saying? Like they shoot us, we get the settlement. We shoot each other, we get a goddamn T-shirt and a teddy bear on a corner. So it's like, see yourselves in this is like, what's that sick movie? It's like a Get Out film.
Yeah.
Get Out film.
That's what I was gonna say earlier though. So yeah, we say we get out, and that's my solution too. But then, like, okay, if Walmart closes all the grocery stores tomorrow, where are we gonna get food? Like, because we're not learning how to grow our food. We traded that for working in this capitalist society. You know, who's gonna make our clothes? Now we can sew, my mama can sew, but are you gonna do it? Because it's gonna take work.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna go. I already told everybody.
And how many people are willing to do that work instead of sitting in the house and say, well, nah, I'm gonna watch this Netflix. If they shut down all the electricity, you know what I'm saying? Where are we going to get our electricity from? You know what I'm saying? Right. It's going to take, you know, it's not, you know, we can walk out and then what? No, it has to be, like you said, a plan to, you know.
And I agree. I think there has to be both an offensive and a defensive strategy. It reminds me of Nehemiah in the Bible, who with both hands put his hands to war, but he also built the house of God. So there was a building and a warring at the same time.
Yeah, and I warred right by the. I remember that.
Yeah. So we have to get our people back to working. That working is okay. It's okay to apply yourself and sweat by your brow, or think by your brow. Come on, but everybody can't sit down and watch nothing be done. We got to make it okay for us to work again. And guess what? The benefits is that we love each other. The benefits is that we circulate the currency that keeps us all afloat. When you have, I have. You can't afford to sit down. And I think me and Racquel was talking about this earlier on another podcast, is that the true economy is love. And if everybody applied what they had and give their gifts, nobody would go lacking. He made it so to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot to be done, but yeah, like I said, talk is, you know, it's needed, but then yeah, like somebody called it intellectual masturbation, where just everybody's just sitting around talking and nothing's getting done.
Yeah, that's what that feel like. That's exactly what that feel like. I know what I'm talking about.
Did she say intellectual? You're right. You know what? Black people, it's so funny you said that, because sometimes we get into these stupors where all we become is philosophers. And I think that's why the preaching world has become so popular.
Oh yeah.
is because you can become philosophical and don't go to work. But they keep forgetting that Paul made tents. He knew Jesus, but he made tents. That means he worked.
Yeah.
When you start talking about Jesus, you can't talk about Jesus without Joseph. And Joseph had a job. So everybody want to talk, but don't nobody want to work.
Yeah, you got to get the work done, man. You got to. I definitely want to commend y'all, man. I stay up here with y'all all night.
I
Thank
mean,
you. Likewise, your brother.
But I said, wow, this is awesome work. Two great women in power. God bless you, bro. Thank you, Felicia.
thank you, Felicia.
Carmen. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight.
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna
Felicia.
let my people go.
Okay.
Amen. Let my people go. That's right.
I'm in Greenville, though. I'm in Greenville right now at the radio station. The radio station is Greenville, but I moved back from Virginia back to Goldsboro in 2020. So I'm still there, but I'm actually headed to Virginia again tonight. So I'm always on the road. And like I said, I'll be up y'all guys' way probably the middle of the month or the first of next month. So I'll make sure to chime in with y'all.
Yeah. We're gonna be in Texas, but we coming down to VA in September and hopefully North Carolina in like October.
Oh,
We're gonna
okay.
be gone for like a few months, but we
Maybe I get on that RV. What you say?
Oh yeah, we'll be around even closer. I'm sure the demand is on its way.
Yes.
So definitely, man, I want to thank you, ladies, and we're gonna do this again. Next time, I make sure to have you on the list too, Racquel. One more comment. My mother said, "This is all very real. Praying for you, ladies, and y'all your endeavors."
Thank you, Mother.
Thank you, Letta. Letta, we still got your commercial on the welfare tour. Is it the welfare tour? If you go to canilive.org, you're going to see Miss Aletta Taylor. If you click on the first thing that you see about the 1 million moms of welfare, there's a commercial, very powerful commercial that we shot about in 2015 that she is in. So if you guys want to see,
was it 2015?
Wow.
That's when we did the commercial. So she did a commercial for us. Actually, you know what, y'all? I'm gonna put it right here in the chat for you. I ain't gonna play no games. Miss Aletta Taylor, and she is giving us the business. She talk about what she tired of. She tired of seeing us just be in these situations. She tired of, here it is. It's canilive.org. I'm gonna put it in the chat with you guys, and you guys could put it. You saw it recently. Look at you. Yeah, you were surprised. Yes, she right in that video. So,
Amen.
Thank you, Letta, for just supporting us all of these years. You've been very consistent with your support, and so we thank you. And if you are led to pay and to support more, and as we get on this journey and go out there, please. The truth of the matter, we said if 1 million moms gave $3 a month, just $3, we can be our own solution. You don't need a whole $1 million to move a whole million. You don't need $1 million per family. You just need us to support us. And so, that's what we were trying to do then. I mean, it's not stopping. Like this thing will happen. It just may take some time, but it's happening now. So back then, y'all know I've been doing this for 20 years. So it's here. Now we're here. I just can't believe it's 20 years later. I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm getting older. I'm not 21.
I've drank from the fountain of youth.
Yeah, you ladies are very beautiful.
Thank you, Alana.
Thank you.
And say hello to your beautiful husband, Mr. Richard. Isn't his name Richard?
Nah, Roger.
Richard and Roger.
That's you, Richard.
Yeah, I'm Richard.
Shut up.
Yeah, well, y'all
said to make that clear.
Have an awesome night. Y'all have a safe trip. Much
thank you.
And I thank y'all for taking the time out of y'all busy schedules.
Anytime for you, Richard. Anytime.
All right, and I will definitely be in contact with y'all. And I thank once again all of our regular listeners for joining us and all of your comments and your interaction. But I thank you, ladies. And I'm going to end the broadcast, but you guys take care.
See ya.